Alright, you guys, so I want to sit down with you today and talk about, am I ready for a divine union? So this is going to be for my divine feminines and divine masculines on a twin flame journey in separation. And we're going to talk about, am I ready for divine union? I've channeled a couple of things that I want to give you as those checkpoints for yourself, for your inner state of being, where you are on your journey, to understand if you are ready or there are still things that you need to work on, shadows that you need to dive a little bit deeper. So grab a pen, grab a journal, sit down, and start picking the points that I will be talking about. The reason I want to do this is because we oftentimes talk about this, divine feminine and divine masculine persona, and they seem like almost this unachievable perfection, right? Divine feminine being patient, compassionate, soft, connected to God, connected to the divine, and masculine being strong, protector, provider, both walking Christ consciousness. And because we live in a world full of illusion, one of these illusions is perfectionism, because perfectionism is a illusion. It does not exist. This journey is not at all about perfectionism. It's an invented illusion of the matrix to always keep us in a mindset of not being good enough. And it's actually not what we're trying to achieve here. So I want you to start from replacing the perfectionism, right, with 3 keywords, because we're not looking for perfectionism. We're looking for authenticity, we're looking for accountability, and we're looking for sovereignty. So what does it mean? Authenticity means that I actually do understand that I'm not meant to be perfect. Nobody is meant to be perfect. There is no such thing as perfection. I am meant to be human. I am meant to be soul living human experience. Authenticity is about, I have reached within myself deep enough to detect which part of self that I thought that was myself, they were actually my shadows, my limiting beliefs, the conditioning of the society, things that people told me that I was, the labels that I slapped on myself, but it's not really me. I've reached deep enough to know that this is not authentic. And I am dedicated to walk this path of authenticity for the rest of my days. If I will ever on my path, because again, you don't need to 100% be there. If I will ever on my path detect that there is something within me that, man, that's not really me. That's something that I was told to be. And I keep following that path, I'm going to remove it immediately. I'm dedicating myself to me, my authentic self. I don't want to have people around me, situations around me that are not honoring who I am. And that authentic self is absolutely not about perfection. It's not about perfection, right? I want to be a better person. I want to walk this earth and honor every person and every situation and the nature and the animals and other people. But I am a human being, so sometimes I'm allowed to get pissed at my neighbor because he's annoying, right? So it's about authenticity. It's about not being ashamed of your own dreams, of your own quirky thoughts, of your own qualities. Be who you are. That's what we came here to do. I'm ready to be who I am. It's not about perfectionism. It's about authenticity, your inner truth, right? Second thing I mentioned is accountability. So we've been talking about accountability a lot in my recent videos, and it's very important. I no longer project on others. I no longer shift the blame on others. I actually, in a mature way, take accountability. So when I do get pissed at that neighbor, I'm not just saying that, oh, it's just his fault because he's just crazy, but I actually understand that there's still something within me that, maybe could be a little bit more at bay. I look inwards. I look inwards with accountability. I don't shift and project my emotions and assign blame to the world, to my partner, to my friends, to my neighbors, to the universe. I take accountability. And the final thing that I've mentioned was sovereignty. So sovereignty is when you are strong in your independence. right? So you understand that you will no longer follow people, situation, and places that are completely out of alignment with your internal values, because you're so codependent on others and you're incapable of building relationships that are not codependent, that you cannot walk as that lone wolf, as that healthy lone wolf. I am sovereign. I don't belong to the matrix. I don't belong to my family. I don't belong to this society. I don't belong to my culture. I don't belong to my partner. I am me. I am allowed to live my life the way I want to, right? Whoever aligns with that, with my authenticity, and accepts my sovereignty can walk this path beside me. And I want to build beautiful relationship, but nobody owns me, right? That's sovereignty. So we want to replace this myth of perfectionism with those three things. And more than anything is that it's that path from fear to love. I understand now that every choice, every thought that is coming from me is either rooted in fear or love. This is the shadow and this is the light. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, there's just fear and there's just love. And I understand through accountability that it is my choice. Do I choose love or do I choose fear? When we are in the beginning of this journey, without us realizing, we constantly choose fear. We run away because of fear. We chase because of fear, right? We don't honor ourselves, our bodies, our existence, our authenticity because of fear, because of shadows. Now I understand that, and I understand that I need to walk towards love, choosing, thinking, acting from a place of love. So I've channeled 5 sort of themes and points that I want to talk to you guys about. So with this introduction, let's give it a start. What are the things that you need to check in with yourself and really keep that non-perfectionism thought alive? Because I need you to look at this in a balanced way, not from a place of self-sabotage and complete lack of self-love and this hyperachiever perfectionism, but to actually, in a very, not wishful thinking either, but very balanced, very honest with yourself way, in which of these points I'm already there and where I still need to do some work. So you may take a deep breath, close your eyes for a moment, connect to your higher self. You can make a little prayer. I wish to know, I wish to remember, I wish to see, I do not wish to control. And let's give it a go. So the first thing I want to talk about is a question that the divine masculine and the divine feminine, it's going to look a little bit differently, this question. You need to ask yourself, rooting back to one of the core qualities and core things about the masculine energy and about the feminine energy. So starting from the masculine, the question that I want you to ask yourself to know whether you're ready. Am I man enough? Am I man enough not to walk away? Am I man enough not to walk away when my shadows will come to the surface, when my fear will come to the surface, when my avoidance will come to the surface, when we will face challenges, difficulties? Because it's important to understand 2 things. When we talk about shadow work, when we do shadow work, and I highlight this to you guys always, it's not about curving out the shadow and completely removing the shadow. The shadows that you have will live within you always, but you will control them. They will go dormant. They will retire. They won't hold the reins anymore. That's the point of shadow work, right? And another thing that I want you to understand is that when we reach divinity, when we reach union, inner union, external union, divine union with your counterpart, it's not that you suddenly live in this utopia life that, you know, there's no challenges and there's no problems. We still live in this earth, on this earth, in this world. We're gonna have challenges with family, with work, with finances, with health, with life is life. We're just better at it. Life doesn't get any easier, right? As we heal, we just get better at it. So the core quality of the masculine energy is self-control. So this question that I told you to ask yourself, am I man enough not to walk away, actually goes back to self-control. So when my shadows will come to the surface, when life will throw challenges at us, when I will feel like my avoidance is knocking on the door, when I will feel like my anger is knocking on the door, am I man enough to have that self-control? To take a deep breath, to self-soothe, to take a few hours for myself to auto-regulate and not act on my shadow. It's the self-control over the shadow. It's not that you will never feel fear, that you will never feel like you want to avoid and run away and ghost and disappear. But now you will hold the rein, your sovereign soul, not the shadow. Avoidance won't rule anymore. So am I man enough to self-soothe, self-regulate, and not walk away on my feminine? Whereas the feminine needs to reverse that question and ask yourself, do I love myself enough to actually walk away? Do I love myself enough that when I see that my values are not being met, that I'm not being respected, I will set a boundary. I will voice my needs. And if these are not honored, I will walk away. Because as much as the core thing of the masculine is self-control, the core thing of the feminine is understanding that we are the gatekeepers of this world. That's our job. That's our role. We are the gatekeepers. We have to love ourselves enough to be the keepers and the setters of the values of this world. And you will see this pattern in distorted karmic relationships everywhere. I'm sure whoever you are watching, you've met a pairing in your life, or probably more, if not every pairing that you know, where the masculine has no self-control and the feminine accepts that. So the masculine, whatever shadow they have, it's going to be different for every masculine. You feel like cheating, so you cheat because you have no self-control. You feel anger, so you yell and you scream because you have no self-control. You start to feel like you want to avoid difficult situations, so you ghost, run away, you disappear because you have no self-control. And then the feminine, despite that, she doesn't love herself enough, so she finds excuses to stay. Instead of saying, this won't fly with me because my standards are high, my boundaries are high. So if you do not have self-control as a man, please do not come near me. She accepts that. And this is how we're repeating that vicious loop, that vicious cycle. And twins are meant to teach this to others, right? So we really have to make sure as a masculine that your self-control is already there. You're still going to train it. You're still going to sharpen it, but it's already there. And the feminine, your self-love is already there. You're still going to train it. You're still going to sharpen it. It may be challenging in the beginning to set those two things, right? We heal together as well. As we come into union, we continue to heal together. We sharpen our femininity, masculinity, our divinity together. But these things have to be there already. Next thing that I want you to ask yourself goes back to the divine flow triangle that I've channeled a while ago for you guys. So perhaps you know what I mean. If you watch me, maybe you've heard me talk about this. If you don't and you want to find out more, you can go to my website, link is in my bio, and in Divine Love section, I have a couple of articles. Go to Divine Flow, and everything is explained. And there's a link to a video where I've explained it as well. And building on that divine flow triangle, what the masculine has to ask himself, we're going back to the next core qualities of feminine and masculine. So what the masculine you need to ask yourself, is my divine feminine more important than my ego? Have I reached a level of divinity enough? Have I reached a level of masculinity enough to finally understand that my divine feminine is more important than my ego? She is the portal to the divine. She is the closest thing to God. As a woman, as a bridge between realms, as a divine feminine, do I understand that she is more important than my ego, than my pride, than my cockiness, than my need to be right, than my need to control? Is her heart more important than my ego? Because the key element, another key element of the divine masculine, is that you are the protector. Not just the physical protector, like that someone wants to push us and you're going to punch them in the face, but protector of our hearts. One of the things that you need to protect us from is your ego, is your shadow. Going back to that, are you in self-control of your ego self? Because you need to protect our feminine divine heart, that is the portal to the divine, to God, from your ego. So is your feminine more important than your ego? Ego being shallow, petty needs of human existence. Again, pride, arrogance, cockiness, lust. Is the heart of your feminine more important already, right? And what the feminine needs to ask herself, is God more important than my masculine? Have I reached levels of divinity and understanding of my journey enough to understand that God, the divine, universal truths, values, meaning of life, is more important than my masculine and his ego? And this goes back to that triangle that I told you guys about. In order to introduce the divine, the divinity, the God into union of masculine and feminine, this is how the flow goes. The feminine is responsible to always look towards God, always look towards the truth, the universal values, the love, the light, right? And devote herself to her mission as a portal to the divine, her mission as the closest thing to God on this earth. And then when she does this, the divine blesses the masculine with everything that he needs in this physical world. And what he needs to do with abundance, with health, with blessings, right? What he needs to then do is to always devote himself to the feminine, more than his own ego, more than his pride, more than his petty needs, more than the shallow needs of the ego. Always look towards the feminine. So masculine, is your feminine more important than your ego? And feminine, is God more important than your masculine and his ego? Now, the first thing that I want you to ask yourself is, what is my relationship with my inner masculine and inner feminine? So the feminine is going to ask herself, what is my relationship with my inner masculine? And the masculine will ask himself, what is my relationship with my inner feminine? Because before we are able to create divine union in the physical world with our divine counterpart, we have to create inner union. I call it this micro union, micro world, right? So the dynamics that we're going to have with your counterpart, you have to embody these dynamics internally between your inner feminine and inner masculine. And here there are two qualities of masculine and feminine that are very important to understand, and these will tell you what is the quality of your relationship with your inner masculine and feminine. So the feminine, what I want you to ask yourself is, do I feel safe? Because one of the core things that the masculine energy is supposed to bring into our life is safety, right? Our masculine is supposed to make us feel safe. Not just safe, again, in the physical, I feel safe because my man is here, so if there's noise outside of our house at night, I feel safe. Not just that kind of safety, but safety that it's this I got you baby that I always talk about. I feel safe emotionally. I feel safe to be who I am with my man. I feel safe to cry. I feel safe to express my emotions. I feel safe in this physical world that I got you, baby, right? I don't fear that I'm not going to have money to survive. I don't fear I'm not going to have money to pay my bills. I don't fear I'm going to lose job. I feel safe. And the feminine needs to activate that safety internally through her inner masculine and through the divine, right? So you need to work on your lower chakras, especially your root, to reach a point when even when you're still in separation, you feel safe. I don't worry, I feel safe. Nothing will happen to me financially, emotionally, physically. I feel safe. I feel safe. Safe to be who I am, safe to follow my path, safe to exist in this world. I have completely eliminated the overwhelming emotion of fear. When that happens, it means that you have activated your own inner masculine to the point where he is the one protecting you, right? So he protects you from any kind of harm, again, emotionally, physically, energetically, that could come to you. So you know that if there's danger, it's okay, because your inner masculine will then rise, step in, and will be their protector. Whereas for the masculine, what you need to ask yourself to know whether you have a good relationship with your inner feminine is, can I feel soft? Can I feel vulnerable? Because femininity is all about softness. So for masculine to have a good relationship with your inner feminine, it means that you have opened your heart. So ask yourself, do you feel that you can soften with yourself as you are, still in separation, sitting in a room, closing your eyes? Can you soften? Can you feel into your emotions? Can you vulnerably say out loud, oof, this was a harsh day, I'm overwhelmed, or an old memory resurfaced today, I feel grief, I feel pain. Can you soften into your femininity? Can you open your heart to talk about your emotions, about your feelings, about your hopes, about your pains? Because in reality, that is the role of your feminine. One day, as you're going to step into union with your feminine, your divine feminine will hold that space of softness when you can literally just melt with your feelings, melt with your emotions, forget about the external world. And in that blended, melted mush of feelings, feel the love of God, feel the softness of the divine, feel the care of the divine, right? So it's the safety of the inner masculine and the softness of the inner feminine that needs to be present within you to actually be ready for union. Next theme are a couple of things that I've channeled and I've written down, not to forget, are questions that both of you need to ask. They're going to be same questions to know that you are ready. Both masculine and the feminine need to answer that question. So first question is, are you ready to be a team? Divine union, true relationship is a team. We're best buddies, we're best friends, we're perfect lovers, we're perfect partners for each other. We're a team. There is no me and you, there is us, right? There are no secrets. There are no, I'm not going to talk to you about this, right? There are no, this is none of your concern. We become one. We truly energetically become one. So are you ready to actually always consider another person in your actions and in your decisions? Because in reality, when we talk about twin flames, we are sovereign souls, but we are one consciousness. So in divine union, we become extension of each other. It's like, it's me, but in another body, right? It's sovereign, it's independent, but it's me. It's the same frequency. Without these bodies, we would jump back into each other, right? In that ultimate union. So do we actually understand that I don't want to build a relationship where we're going to be against each other and like, right? But we're always going to be together. We're going to be a team. Second question is, are you ready to be 100% vulnerable? So are you ready to sit in front of your counterpart, look them in the eyes, spend hours gazing into each other's eyes and just be you? Just be you, not be ashamed of your thoughts, of your dreams, of your fears, of your points of weakness as well, rooting back to the fact that it is not about perfection, but just vulnerably show up for each other, right? Number 3 is, are you ready? And it kind of loops back to that point too. Are you ready to drop the mask? Because we're for each other, we're like lie detectors because we are same frequency. So are you ready to just not pretend that you're okay when you're not okay? Are you ready not to, again, be able to admit that I'm afraid of something, or I don't really want to talk about this, or my fear or my anxiety or my avoidance resurface. Let's talk about this, right? Authenticity, vulnerability. Fourth thing is, are you already in an understanding that we're not meant to be entitled in life? Life is perfect just the way it is. We don't deserve anything. We shouldn't be upset with God and universe for not having anything. Things just are, right? It's this neutrality of life. We need to understand that. We have to release the entitlement and the expectation of how our life is supposed to look like. And again, it roots back to that illusion of perfection. That I have to be at a certain position. I have to make this amount of money before I come back to my masculine. I have to work my mission before I come back to my feminine, right? No, life is a process. And we're just here to be, not to achieve anything, not to achieve certain, right? We're just here to be and every day be better. And if something is thrown at us, it's not because we are not yet perfect, because we're not meant to. It's because what life brings us is the perfect situation always, is what we need to grow and expand. And I am now ready to grow and expand together. I grew and expanded enough on my own, and now I feel ready that I can grow and expand with my counterpart. And the final thing is, and I love this, and there's this song that they put in my mind when I was channeling. Do you understand that the search is over? And I want to stop here for a moment, because this is such a beautiful thing for twins. And there's this song, the search is over, you were with me all a while. It's this thing with twins, that from childhood, way before we meet, way before we get activated to the journey, it's like there's something missing. It's like we're searching something, right? And we get lost in this search. We search for people, for friendships. We sometimes travel the world, like we constantly change jobs. It's like, right, we're searching for something, but something is missing without us knowing. It's this other part of self. So do you now understand that from the moment you got activated to your journey, the search was over? All you needed to find is the way back to self. Home is not a place, is not a job, is not an occupation, is not a city that you live in, is not a physical place. Home is in your heart. The search is over when you found your way back to yourself, and through your way back to yourself, you will always find your way back to your counterparts, to your divine feminine, divine masculine. And the final thing I want to mention, the final test, the final question that you have to ask yourself is imagining that moment of breaking no contact, breaking the separation, and reaching out to your feminine, right? And the question that I want you to ask yourself as a masculine, am I ready to actually, as I reach out to her, as I text her or call her or knock on her door, however you want to do it, am I ready to take that accountability? Am I ready to not just come in, testing the waters, see how things are doing, right? But am I ready, even if it's not going to be the first message, I'm returning to her. Am I ready to actually say, shit, I'm sorry. I've done some things I didn't know, but it's no excuse. I've done some things and I want to own them. Are you ready to take accountability, and are you ready to commit? Because oftentimes this is the final test of the masculine. You reach out to us when you feel like you're ready to break no contact. And for most part, it's going to be different in various situations. It's very individual. But there's going to be something in this situation that the feminine, she either won't respond or she will challenge you, right? To really test that masculinity. So what a true divine masculine does is you come in with accountability. I know who we are to each, whatever you feel like saying, right? So it's either apology, it's either a promise for change, it's just raw masculine maturity. Dude, I no longer just want to check in with you as I used to, like every year or every 2 years. I'm coming to stay. I know, I remember, I've awakened. I know you're my woman. I'm sorry for all the crap that I've done. And are you ready to commit? So if your feminine won't respond to that, because we'll get to that in a moment. That's a test for a feminine. Are you ready to send the same message on the next day, and then on the next day, and then on the next day? Are you ready to call and text and knock on her door until she responds? Because that's masculine energy. That's the ultimate test of your avoidance. How will you react when someone is no longer that willing with anxiety to talk to you? How will you react when there's no response? How will you react when you are left on red? Remember, tables are turning. And the feminine doesn't do that to out of this vengeance and to test you. It comes naturally. When you reach out to us and we're already in our femininity, it just comes naturally. It's like, let's see if he really changed. Because if he's not going to text me tomorrow again and again, there's no point in responding. And that brings me to the second question for the feminine. When he reaches out, are you actually ready not to respond? Would you be okay to not respond if the message that he's sending doesn't feel like something that matches your values, right? Are you ready not to stop your entire life and all your plans because he reached out? Because in the beginning, when we are in longing, when our masculine reaches out, we change everything. So if we have plans for a weekend, even though you as our masculine, you didn't speak to us, let's say for 6 months or like a year, when we're still in longing, we're going to cancel these plans, right? We're going to cancel these plans. We're not going to do things that we plan to do. We don't care that the only message that you send to us is, hey, what you doing? You're already canceling all your plans because you want to be available for your masculine. No. True divine feminine, I do what I do. If I have plans for the next 6 months to travel the world and now my masculine reaches out, well, he will have to wait. If I oftentimes it's a very common thing with twins that we don't live in same cities or same countries, and it's actually for a very good reason. It's that test of avoidance and test of anxiety. Many feminists on a twin flame journey, they literally moved to another country the moment they met their masculine without admitting that they were doing that for them, and they would move across the country or to another city or to another country, and they would sit there until the moment they would heal enough to be able to let go. So there's often this situation that we're not actually living on the same street or living in the same city, right? So are you ready when he reaches out and he's ready for union to say, you know what, I'm not sure whether I want to rearrange my entire life again. Let's see how things go, right? Because again, one of our key shadows is the avoidance and lack of self-control for the masculine, and anxiety and lack of self-love for the feminine. So these situations, as we return each other, tests us. Have we overcome this? So the masculine, have you overcome lack of self-control and avoidance? Are you ready to take accountability? Are you ready to talk about things that happened? Are you ready to text your feminine every day? Are you ready to be man enough to be challenged by what she will or she won't say? That's the test. And the ultimate test for the feminine is, are you ready to move on with your life and to go on with your life even if he returns? Because no, you're not meant to jeopardize your whole life and your whole plans because a man that haven't spoke to you for a year or 2 or 5 is now returning. So that's the ultimate test, and that's the ultimate question. So now you have everything that you need to know and you need to ask yourself. I do hope that you took that journal and you wrote these things down and you thick them, because things where you feel that you're not necessarily just ready, they will show you the shadows that you still need to work on. They will show you the points that you still need to contemplate on. And if you feel in your heart that I want to be ready, but some of these things, I'm not really sure just yet. Am I on point with those things? Again, imprint this in your heart that it's not about perfection, but pray to your guides, pray to your higher self to show you the way. They will bring you the tests, they will bring you the lessons, they will bring you the teachers that will be able to help you in addressing those things. I hope this was helpful. I love you so incredibly much. 2026 is opening season for unions, season for reunions. season for accelerated growth for twin flames. I've done a video about this a few days ago, predictions for twin flames 2026-2030. Within the next 3 to 5 years, all activated twin flames will have an opportunity to get to union. I've explained this in that video, so if you haven't seen that, you can go ahead and watch that for context. But we are on a very accelerated path of growth leading to season of reunions and unions. I can feel it in my energy. I can feel the masculines rising. I can feel the masculines growing. So I hope this checklist will help you to check in with yourself where you are and whether you are actually ready to return to your feminine. And if there are, like I said, points that are still yet flaky, shaky, that is what you need to work on. Pray to your guides to help you to work on that, and you will find your way back home, because remember, the search is over.